Hello and welcome to my studio. I'm Jessie and this is the Knit Up and Dye podcast, episode 110, Power of a Name. As always, I'm going to start with my thank yous and I have my cheat sheet here. Special thank you goes out to all of my subscribers, new and ongoing. I love you guys. What you see here is all about you. I'm always looking to hear from you about what you want to hear and see. Feel free to contact me. Hello and welcome goes out to Rena, Betty, and Twisted Skulls. Thank you for adding me to your day. Special love and thanks go out to Heather, Amy, Emily, Tooney, Terry, Diane, Allison, Barbara, Adriana, Wayne, Sonia, Patricia, Lisa Lette, Cappy, Kath, Jorge, Benty, Christy, Neetsy, Charlotte, Roseanne, Linda, Marie, Eve, David, Donna, Betty Ann, Scott, John, Kate, Janet, Terry, Monica, Carolyn, Nancy, and Rachel. Much love goes out to my Zoom family, Robert, Juanita, Paula, Brian, Jen, Elizabeth, Katie, Shirley, Roz, and Jamie. If I didn't name you, it doesn't mean that I don't love you. It just means that you're not on my radar at this moment. Feel free to reach out to me and I'll add you to my list because calling people out, letting them know that I care about them means a lot to me. Well, okay. Life. Let's dig in. I always start with kind of a here's my world. My car is fixed again. Shortly after the last episode, in fact, that following Monday, my car broke down again. Same problem. We had tried to diagnose the issue and get it fixed, and we had actually overdiagnosed. The problem was not as complicated as we thought it was. We had thought it was the fuel pump. It was actually a sensor of some sort that was significantly cheaper, which is very annoying, but really easy to fix. And once again, I am on the road and safe. But once again, it did strand me in traffic, and that was really not fun. My stranded in traffic experience, I think I talked to you guys about this last time, was much better this time. Nobody was screaming at me. In fact, people were much more helpful this time. Who knows, maybe by sending out into the universe the, hey guys, you could be nice to each other instead of horrible, I drew that energy back. I don't know. I'm just grateful that this time was much simpler, much easier, and we have a formal final fix. Yay! I have gotten a couple of emails from y'all about Christmas and doing the Christmas ornament exchange. Thank you. If you're even roughly considering it, please send me an email and let me know about your interest. This is it's a fun project that we all do together where you make 6 ornaments, you send them to me, I swap them out with everybody else's stuff, and you get 6 unique ornaments handcrafted back to you in time for Christmas to decorate your tree. We would very much like to add Europe to this project this year. I have heard very little interest from my world contingency. If you're any place in the world other than the US or Canada, reach out to me and let me know if you're interested in this. Your email to me about your interest is not a commitment. You are not locked in. I simply need to gauge whether it's worth doing or not so that we can calculate cost and figure out the logistics of it. So feel free to email me and let me know what your interest level is. And certainly if you are in the US and Canada, email me as well. The more I know what the interest is, the more I can plot and plan and do wonderful things with it. Other housekeeping note, my coupon new shop for my new website is ending on August 1st. Feel free to use the new shop coupon code to get 20% off in these last days. It's a housewarming party, if you will. So feel free to pop in. I've got a lot of new product in there, and I'm really excited about the new online store because I have a lot more flexibility. I have a lot more opportunity. My costs are less, so I have the ability to do more, and that's very exciting. I do have some new luxury fibers listed. They're really nice. I've got some merino silk cashmere blend listed there, and there's more to come. I also have listed some BFL. I know some people are really excited about the BFL listings. Those are some nice big 150 gram skeins, so a couple of skeins, you've got a sweater. that's what's going on there. Hand spinning, have I touched it? Nope. Just been busy with other things. I am excited to do it. I do, where did I put it? It's right there. I do have a lot of love for that New Bay roving braid that I have. I think I need to split it. So I'm a very, very new hand spinner. The roving braid, the roving is this big, thick chunk. And for me to draft that out becomes like this complicated kind of mess. Whereas if I take the roving and I split it out into thinner bits, that's going to be a lot easier for me for drafting and spinning. So I think I need to do that. And while part of me wants to just dig in and get on the spindle and start working on that and kind of split as I go, the rest of me thinks that it's going to be much more powerful for me if I split it all in advance, and then I'm not stopping and starting and doing bits. When I start spinning, when I do my hand spinning, I like to just go at it, and which is probably not a good thing. I probably should be taking more breaks and giving my shoulder more of a break. But I'm all kinds of ambitious. I don't know why. I don't know why. So I'm still looking at that. Part of it is it's all pretty, all braided up, and I don't want to split that up. I like looking at the beautiful, you know. What have I been knitting? Oh, I've been knitting. I've had a good time knitting. I showed you guys last episode that I got my Stormy Sky Shawl by Life is Cozy done, and it needed to be blocked. I've blocked it. It's so pretty. It's so light and airy and delicate. And I've got it all folded nice, which I'm going to unfold now, and it's going to be a wrestling match to get it refolded. It's so airy and drapey and beautiful. I'm so excited about this. It didn't block out too much bigger than it was. I was kind of gentle blocking, whereas normally I'm really aggressive blocking. Because it's already got so much negative space in it, it doesn't need a hard block. But look at how light and airy and beautiful and drapey this became. All the kink, all the stress gets taken right out of it when you wash it. This is going to be a gift for a new mother. I'm very excited for her. It's in her favorite colors. I really hope that she sees it for what it is, that it's a reminder of her beauty and this time in her life. And certainly I'll have a card with all my sentiments attached to it. But I'm so proud of the opportunity to be able to give a new mother something beautiful to remind her of her experience and her time in this. There will be a baby present coming as well. I'm kind of waiting to see if we have a gender reveal. I need to snoop around a little bit and find out what her plans are, whether she's going to be finding out the gender of the baby, whether she'll be disclosing it, whether she is going to choose to kind of raise gender neutral, or whether she is going to be more gender aware. I don't know. I don't know. These are very different times than when I grew up, and people handle gender very differently, and that's something that I'm learning about. It's something that I'm becoming more comfortable with. Gender was never really, how do I say this? Was never really important to me. I know who I am. I'm comfortable with who I am. I'm not a girly girl. I'm just Jess. I'm just Jessie. That's it. And I don't put a lot of emphasis onto, if you're a boy you should play with trucks, and if you're a girl you should play with dolls. I don't look at things quite that way. And I think that that's become more commonplace, where we're trying to take the power of a label away from a label. We're taking really the power of a name away to some degree, so the judgment is less. We're trying to judge less and be more open and more accepting as a society, as a people, as a species. And that's a wonderful thing. That's a wonderful thing. But at the same time, I want a pretty little girly gift if it's a little girly baby, and I want a nice strong gift if it's a boy. And I know that that's wrong. I know that a girly gift can be strong and powerful, and I know that a boy gift can be gentle and loving, and I don't know how to break that. I think that it is powerful to embrace your girly side, and I think it is masculine to be sensitive, and I think it's about the parents. And I think that's a big chunk of why I'm waiting to find out more about her as a mother, who she is as a mother. Because those first days with a baby, those first days with little baby sweaters and little baby toys aren't about the baby. They're not. The baby could care less what color the sweater is. It's about the parent. And I want to honor the parent with a baby gift. So it's really more about getting to know her as a mother than it is about putting a label on a child. And I hope I'm articulating that well. It's confusing times. It's so easy to offend people these days, and that is never, ever my intent. And I want to be sure that my true heart is what comes through. There, that's what I mean. And my heart is here. She's gonna love this. I hope, I believe, and I'm very excited about that for her. And so the next thing is finding something for baby that she will love as well. That's where we're at. So this was the, I'm checking my cheat sheet here. I'm sorry, I'm turned away. Stormy Sky Shawl by Life is Cozy. It is a free pattern. It was easy. It really was. It used one skein of yarn. You saw the impact. I'm like holding it up all over the place. Really straightforward, easy pattern. Once you understand the repeats, you can work with just one sheet here that has all the repeat pattern in it. And honestly, if you wanted to schlank it, you could go 2 skeins and this thing would be wonderful and huge. I did gauge up on my needle. I don't have the sheet here that tells me what the recommended needle was. I ended up using a US 8. I think the pattern calls for, I don't recall. Or no, I think I needled down. I'm sorry, I needled down. I think the pattern calls for a larger needle, and I needled down just because I liked the look of the stitches a little bit closer than what they had. And when you look at the picture in the pattern, the actual pattern stitches are closer than what I was getting with the recommended needle. It's a shawl. Gauge is in the eye of the beholder, and you make it what you want to make it, and I think this came out really, really beautiful. I'm very excited about it. The colorway, if you're looking at this color going, what is that? That is my Tap Monkey base. It's a 75% merino, 25% nylon. The colorway is Swanky, and it has all kinds of just gorgeous, gorgeous shades of purple, from a pink all the way through violets into a navy, and I am just in love with it. It was inspired by a friend of mine she rocks a purple, and I love it. I love it. Set that aside for you guys. What else have I been knitting? I've been working on my sweater. I say that with hesitation. So I have gotten some work done. The pattern I'm working is the Brickyard sweater by Elizabeth Doherty. It's gorgeous. I love the pattern, and I love how she writes it. It's very clear. There's none of that crazy at the same time nonsense, or at least I didn't. I read through the whole pattern like a good girl, but I didn't see any of that at the same time, which I feel should be abolished from knitting patterns at the same time. Is just octopus work. It doesn't work for me. I am working on the back yoke. It is a top down in the round. Eventually you have to do a part of the yoke and then part of the yoke, and you combine it. Her instructions are wonderful because she tells you exactly where to add rows to get a deeper armhole. Thank you, Elizabeth. I require a slightly deeper armhole. That's me, that's my physical makeup. So I had to make a change and I had to drop down. Well, so I got to that point and part of me decided to just trust the pattern and not make an adjustment because the measurements are close to what I need. And I thought, well, you know, it's a garter base pattern, so it's going to stretch a little and it's going to drape a little. My swatch had a little bit of drape to it. I met gauge. But when it's on the needles, to trust is difficult. And this isn't washed and this isn't blocked, and so it's not opened up yet. And I was kind of guessing how much it was going to open up, which is never a good thing. And I knit the next section without adding rows. And I got that section done and I looked at it and I held it up and I tried to gauge that stretch to see how it was going to fit. And I took it all back. I really decided that I did need to add a couple of rows in there. Where's the frustration coming from? I knew I should have put in a lifeline before I did that next section. The short rows to bring the arch down. It's such a pretty pattern. And I didn't put in a lifeline. So I lost time because I had to do some careful tinking versus just pulling the needle out and going back down to my lifeline and then putting the needle back in. So once I got all the way tinked back out, I put in that lifeline. I have a series of lifelines in here. I now have a lifeline from where that point was that I added rows. I have a lifeline to the point where I was done adding rows, and now I have that section done, and I have the whole yoke complete. And I'm sorry, I'm holding it up all upside down backwards. You are now looking at the right side, and this is the neck, the shoulder slope, and then you see how it's curved here at the bottom. I hope I'm showing it curved. That is a design feature where she has this lovely short row shaped arc in place. There's going to be like an I-cord divider before it goes down into the A-line skirt of the sweater in a stockinette. Beautiful, absolutely graceful, beautiful design. I just love it. I know I've tried to show you guys pictures of it, and I printed it in black and white, so it's not the best photo for you to review it in. There it is. Such a lovely smile on her face. She's clearly very proud of it. It is so beautiful. I don't know if that is actually Elizabeth that's modeling it. I know many designers model their own work. But really just a graceful, beautiful design. Do check it out. It is available on Ravelry. It is a pay-to-play pattern. It is exquisitely written. It really, really is. She does a bust all the way up to 59.5 inches and down as far as 34.25. I don't know what her flexibility is so far as being able to add additional sizes to it, but really this is a pattern that you could readily modify to your size. She has written it in such detail and so beautifully that I'm making adaptations, and I am not a garment knitter. You guys, if you follow me at all, you know my intrepidation with knitting sweaters and my generalized lack of success in doing it. My one failure in reading this pattern through, I just want to jump in, I just want to knit it, I just want to do it. I did read it through initially when I printed it off. I have changed the size that I'm working. So I've got highlights with scratch outs and the proper size circled. What I failed to pay attention to was I jumped in and I did my gauge swatch, and she has the gauge swatch instructions all included here, which is quite brilliant. She has the swatching and the 2 swatches that you need to do. I paid attention to the needles for the swatches. What I didn't pay attention to was in her front page where she includes all the information that she has 3 needle sizes for the body. She uses 2 of those needle sizes for the sleeves, and for the neckband she uses one of the needles that's previously used and another needle. So ultimately here we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 needle sizes. This pattern is extremely interchangeable friendly. Having a set of interchangeables here is spot on. Just change out that tip and you're good. I need to check and see. I'm at a stopping point. So I've got this arc all done, and the next step is to do that beautiful I-cord detail along the arch. And there's a couple of needle changes that are happening in that process. But when I did my gauge swatch, I ended up changing my needle size. This has me working currently. Let me double check my work. Oh God, I hope I have the right needle. According to the pattern, I would be using the US 5 needle. For my needs, because of the gauge swatch I am working with, make sure I know what I'm talking about. Please have done it right. I believe I'm working with, yes, I'm using a US 6 needle. That was so that I could meet gauge. My yarn is a different, not a wholly different size than hers, but a slightly different weight, the yarn that she used in the pattern. So there was some accommodation that had to happen there. It's a gauge swatch, that's why we do it. But because I have that change in needle size, I need to go through her other needle sizes and cross out and mark what needle sizes mine are, going up or down a size as required. Actually, it's always going to be going up 1 needle size. So I need to cross these out. I need to go through the pattern. I need to mark them up because she has me using a 5, I'm using a 6, but she has me using a 7 next. And if I'm not paying attention, I'm going to grab a 7. I'm going to throw this thing. It's not going to come out the way we want it to come out. So by going through and marking up my pattern, this is one of those times where having Post-its and stickies and everything else on it is really important. I need to stop. I need to take the time to do that before I get confused and I mess this up. This really has been a 2 steps forward, 1 step back kind of project for me, in that I'm learning as I go and I'm making adjustments as I go, and I'm being reminded the power of the lifeline as I go. But I'm making progress and I'm happy. So here's my progress keeper from last time I talked to you guys 2 weeks ago. It's right there. I knit this whole thing straight from here to here. And then of course I have the added short rows that accommodate from here to here on the edges. So I did like a fairly decent section. I'm really proud of it. Is it going anywhere near as fast as I'd like it to? Nope. I want this yesterday. I want very much to wear this in October to my trunk show. So I got to get clicking here. And I have so many other things on the burners that I'm just like kind of laughing at myself because I feel like I'm going to end up blocking this in a hotel room. Not that I've ever done that before, which is fine. There's an element of fun to that sometimes where you achieve something at the last second and it's a success. Still, I don't know. So Jessica put the pattern with the project in the bag. There we go. Okay. What else have I been working on? So that's my knitting. Was the shawl. I finished that and I got it blocked. The sweater, I've been working on that. I've been doing a little bit of crochet, not a lot, not nearly as much as I had wanted to. Again, it's been a crazy 2 weeks, but I am still working on my Through the Clouds shawl. Really simple. I'm not a crocheter. Get brave, try something new. A new technique can really enhance your world. This is so beautiful. I just love it. I'm so excited by it. It's the Through the Clouds pattern. trying to think, I must have the pattern here. I do. This is also a pay-to-play. It is available through Ravelry. The designer is Rachy Newin. I knew that. I just wasn't brave enough to call it out. I didn't want to be wrong. It's using one color for each row, and you interchange them throughout the pattern. And it's just beautiful, especially with speckly yarns. You get such neat color interactions. I'm loving it. It is growing. We're getting there. It's not quite where I want it to be yet. I've got a ways to go yet. It's cute, but at this point it's still very forward heavy, and the tails aren't quite long enough to bring it around to make it fully wearable without having to clip it. So it's going to get some more size. Here we are in July. It is snuggly. It is very nice and warm, and just putting it around my neck, it's warm. So I'm very excited about it because in the winter I am always cold. Here's my progress keeper from 2 weeks ago. I've done very little work. I literally put on 2, maybe 3 rows. That's it. But at this point, those rows are getting kind of long. So any accomplishment is an accomplishment, and I'm going to honor that. I think I have, oh gosh, I probably have another 12 or so rows before I'm going to change out the color combinations again. I've gone way off page. Rachy, your pattern is beautiful. I love it. I added an extra skein of yarn for size and more color interaction. I'm making it my own. But the base design is gorgeous. Feel free to make it according to pattern or get crazy and go off page like I did. Like I said, I added a 4th color to it. I'm mixing it up, and I'm not being real good about counting out my rows before changing to the next color repeat. I don't know much about how it's going to affect my yardage. At the end, I may have a bunch of short combinations of different colors to use up the last of yarn. Either way, it's not going to be bad. These colors are so beautiful. And I have this dream that I'm going to make another one kind of in pinks, reds, and salmons. And I have some yarn. I think I showed you guys last time that I've got set aside with that in mind. And I wanted to get another skein of yarn for it. I have 2 or 3 skeins currently, but I ultimately would like to do 4 again like this. And I got on Instagram because there's no better way to spend money than to get onto Instagram lately. And I've been looking at a lot of new indie dyers, really paying attention to some new accounts and looking at what they're doing. And I found an indie that was selling on on Etsy, and she was charging shipping. Haha. And she does a dye to order, and she had a real pretty color that I fell in love with, and I've ordered it. It's not here yet. I'll show it to you as soon as it gets here, and we'll talk to you about my experience in the order process and with the receipt of the product and what it looks like and everything. And I'll show you again the yarn that I'm hoping to pair it with. Matching up on screen versus in hand can be very difficult, especially with dye to order, because what is on the screen is a sample of that colorway. It is not necessarily, and in dye to order is most definitely not the skein you're going to get. Variants happen. It's hand dyed, it's art. It comes out different every time, and so it's kind of like this mystery purchase to see what's gonna be the outcome of this particular skein. I don't mind mysteries, and if that yarn doesn't work with my proposed ideas, it'll work with something else. It's going to be beautiful. So I'm very excited about that, and I will talk to you about that dyer and everything once I have that in hand. That will probably be at least another week, possibly 2. She does give herself a nice full lead time for dye to order so that she can get a bunch of orders and then batch dye, is my understanding. Or if she needs time to bring in base, she's got time to bring in base. The lead time was significant, and I'm good with that. As much as I love instant gratification yarn, the reality is this is art, and waiting is worth it. So that's my knitting, that's my crochet, that's my lack of spinning. What have I been dyeing? I got a custom order done, and I talked to you guys last episode about how I'd made a mistake and I dyed it on the wrong base, and I felt really awful about that. I had it in the back of my head that it was mixed bases that she was ordering, and why I didn't pay more attention, I don't know. It's done, it's beautiful. I've sent pictures out to her for approval, and I'm very happy with that. I also have been dyeing up some new colorways for minis for my Keiko hat pattern. I do not have kits loaded yet to my shop, and I feel really bad about that. That is something that I want to do. I need to sort out the logistics so that you can choose the colors you want rather than buying pre-made kits. As much as it's really convenient and really easy for me to go, here are 5 colors and this is roughly what they're going to look like together, I really feel that it's important to give you every opportunity to purchase your favorite colors and do it to match you and your lifestyle and your fashion and your style, your personal interests. So I'm trying to figure out the logistics of how to do that. That wasn't something that was easy on Etsy either, and we're gonna see what I can do. It may be a matter of I have a picture with all the colors in it, and in the order process you need to tell me I want this one, this one, this one, and that one. I'll sort it out. I'll get there. I did get some new items listed. I'm really excited about that. I talked to you guys about having a couple of other artists, crafters, that their materials are going to be available through my shop as well. They will be shipping from an alternate address, but I'm really excited to bring those items on as well. That should be coming up in the next week or so, and I'll be talking to you about that. I did do some other dyeing. I love a sock blank. I love a sock blank, and I have many sock blank bases still available here in my trove of product, but I haven't done a lot of sock blank dyeing recently. It's one of those products that comes and goes. It falls into favor, it falls out of favor, kind of like minis. We have a lot more mini projects available now. A lot more mini patterns are out there in the great wide wonderful world of knitting, but they fall in and out of favor as well. So do sock blanks. I'm a sucker for a good sock blank. It's easy travel knitting. The ball's not rolling away. It's great on an airplane, and they're just fun. You can get so many different techniques loaded to this skein of yarn that you could not possibly dye in a hank. I love this. I have it all braided up for you so you can see it kind of as a skein. And from end to end is exactly how it's going to knit. The transition is going to be much longer. As soon as you unbraid this, you'll see. But you basically are able to do speckled gradients with this. And I just love the process. I love the colors that I can get. I'm going to unbraid this for you. As much as I don't want to, because braiding them is not the easiest thing in the world. I want you to see what this does. So we go into these wonderful watery blues with some speckles of navy in it, and it progresses, and we start to get into kind of a violet and navy, and then it starts to pull in rusts with those speckles all still bleeding through there, and we get down into this lovely dark red. I just love this. What would this be like knit up? If you were doing socks with it, you'd end up with a mismatched pair. They'd be cousins, where you'd have kind of a red sock, blue sock thing going on, which would be so adorable. If you were doing a shawl, it would gradient, and I'm not going to tug on the lead end to find out which one is the start end, but one end is the end that you draw from, and one end is the end that you would end from, just because of how knitting unravels. It would go from one end to the other. So as a gradient in a shawl, you may start with the teals and go into the navies, or you may start with the red and go into the rust and the navy and eventually down to the edge of the teal. If you wanted to be specific about it, tug on the end, find out which is the start end, and if that's not the end you want to work from, then you unwind the whole thing onto a cake and draw from the other end. It's really very simple. You're in control of it. You're the dominatrix. You get to demand what that project becomes, what that yarn does for you. Gosh, I'm rolling this back up and I'm just looking at the colors, and they are so beautiful. These make me so happy. Like I said, I have a number of these still in stock in bases, and I'm going to start doing more of the actual sock blank dyeing and get that back up in the shop for you. If you're interested in seeing more blanks, or if you have specific colors, I do custom sock blanks, so please let me know. I'm not braiding this well. I will braid this later when I'm not distracted by you. So dyeing, I've got some sock blanks coming, like I said, I've got minis coming, custom orders are always available, and I want to remind you guys, if I'm having a sale, if I'm having a coupon sale like the new shop sale, you can place a custom order in that time period and take the benefit of the coupon. I always discount regardless of whether it is a direct order or a custom order, and custom orders never have an upcharge. It is worth it to me to charge the exact same rate, because developing a colorway with you or doing a custom order of an existing colorway onto a custom base or a standard base, it doesn't matter. It's the same work for me as it is for me to do a regular dye job. Reach out to me if you have a project that you're thinking about, if you have a cardigan you're dreaming of for the winter, or if you have a hat that you're thinking would be really fun. Reach out to me and let's talk about what bases we can do and what we can develop together. My website actually has a form there for you where you can just email me through that, or you can email me here or direct message me through Instagram, through YouTube, whatever you want. I'm available every way. What have I been designing? Ha 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 ha. So you guys have seen over my shoulder here for months, way longer than I wanted, a pattern that I just kind of was stalled on, mainly because I didn't have a name for it, and that was really bothering me. And I'm going to touch back here into the power of a name. Naming is important in so many ways. I needed a name that I could stand behind for this design. It's another 3/4 shaped shawl, 3/4 square shawl. And I really love it. This one is a 2 skein. And I just was stuck. I couldn't get behind a name. I had ideas about what I wanted. But those names that I was coming up with were either so common that when I checked pattern databases, there were 20 of that name. Hard to stand out in a crowd. Or it was a name that had a connotation or a memory attached to it that wasn't real positive for me. And that was causing, if you have something that's preloaded as being ugly or difficult, or has sad memories or angry memories attached to it, it's really hard to rewrite and put joy on it just because it's named that. I don't have a good example of how to explain that to you without... I don't want to get emotionally raw about that. Let's just say that I had a dear dog named Wilbur, and Wilbur was everything to me, and Wilbur had passed. And I have a new dog. I want to remember Wilbur, but I don't want to put Wilbur's personality and Wilbur's love and Wilbur's energy on this other life. This other life has a right to be independent and not have my sad memories of missing Wilbur or Wilbur's personality imparted on it by calling it Wilbur again. Does that make sense? Everything should have its own energy and its own name, its own power. So I have dug and thought and stewed on a name for this, and I finally come up with a name. This is Snowy Forecast. You would think that would have been easy. Snowy Forecast is coming along very quickly now. I'll be writing this up, charting this up, and I will be reaching out to people who've reached out to me for test knitting. It's probably going to be a couple weeks to get this finally written and teched before I get it out to you guys, but that's coming along very quickly now that I have unblocked myself. And that's really what this was I had put this hurdle in front of myself and blocked myself and made it sit for way longer than it should have. And it's free now. It's free. I also was talking to you about another hat pattern that I was designing exclusively for a trunk show coming up in October. I'm very happy about that. That also was getting stymied and stuck because I just wasn't coming up with a name for it. I had a theme in mind for the name and it wasn't fitting the theme well. And I didn't have a lot of alternates within that theme to work with, and I finally just had to break out of that and let go. And I'm not going to show you the pattern. Please hop on over to Patreon for that kind of exclusive content, but Wing Trail has been named finally, and that hat pattern is in progress, as is another pattern, because why not? I'm going to attempt, to have 2 new hat patterns at my trunk show in October, and they're all going to use minis. It's really exciting. It's really exciting. I don't have a name for the other hat pattern yet, and I haven't even cast it on yet, but it's charted, and I'm really excited about that. These designs are being done as exclusive content through my patronage page. Feel free to pop over there. As little as $1 contribution gets you access to all that information, as well as whatever else I put over there. I'm trying to do a lot more exclusive content. I am behind. I am ever ambitious and never have enough time. But I'm making actual focus time to do that now. So good things are coming. I'm also, because I've got time, taking part in a mystery design along, which is a lot of fun. A friend of mine and I are trading out clues, and we're working clues. We're both very busy people. We're very ambitious business owners, and so that's taking its time. We'll see how that advances. Eventually, though, we should have a mystery knit along for you with that. So I had a theme this week for my podcast, and I've touched on it a little bit with you guys. But I want to talk a little bit more about the power of a name. When I'm naming a colorway or I'm naming a pattern, I'm trying to stand out from a crowd. And it's very easy with so many talented designers, so many talented dyers, to have repetition. It's really easy. And it's easy for us all to do a red and cream colored yarn and call it strawberries and cream. What's hard is being unique and standing out from the crowd and having something that's readily identifiable. And you see this in a lot of other industries. You see it in the fabric industry where they're trying to name prints. You see it in the indie craft beer industry where every beer's got to have its own name, and there's how many brew pubs out there. Where you're trying to be an individual, you're trying to stand out. That's a real challenge, and it's a slippery slope. The name can be what draws you in or repels you. If you can relate to the name, you're attracted to it, if it's a positive relation. If you relate to the name but it has a negative connotation for you, or it is something that you're not attracted to, say I really like the Harry Potter theme stuff. If you're not interested in Harry Potter, as soon as you see anything with the Harry Potter theme or name attached to it, you kind of turn away from it. It's a very slippery slope, and it's a balancing act for all of us to name something and give it honor and relate it to it, and at the same time draw you in or not offend at the very least. People judge things based on titles and memories, and it's very powerful. It's very powerful. The same is true of naming a disease or a condition, and that has the same power as well. And I'm not talking about the initial name of Harry's disease. I'm talking more about diagnosing. Once we have a diagnosis, once we have our label of this is congenital heart failure or whatever, people may avoid it in fear of contagion or of loss. Sometimes finding out that somebody has something that's terminal will repel people. People will avoid the opportunity of being hurt or losing somebody rather than embracing the time that they have with somebody. And that's a real challenge. Sometimes people get sick, get diagnoses, and don't share that information because they know that the people around them have that kind of a response, or may have that kind of response, or they simply fear that people will have that response and abandon them. Other people will gravitate toward people that have the same diagnosis or label in support of it or in need of support themselves. We have wonderful support groups for a variety, for almost every diagnosis out there, so that people can get educated about what they can expect, so that people can get educated in how to support the people in their lives that have this, so that people can pull together, share information, learn, provide solutions or coping mechanisms for it. There's great power in having that name. And that's another thing that's really important, is understanding the impact zone. I have a dear friend who wrote to me talking about, I had talked about coming forward with your diagnosis, with your disease, with your disorder, with your whatever, and sharing that, because that could be really helpful to other people who are trying to find ways to cope with disorders that they're just not finding answers for. And she kind of stepped forward and, agreed with me and talked to me about that and said, and the people around the diagnosis. And that's really, really important, and I'm very grateful for that reminder. When somebody's diagnosed, it's not just that person, it's everyone around them. It's their support group as well that's affected by that they have new coping mechanisms, or they have new challenges, or they have new things to learn, and more energy goes into supporting people. It's a ripple effect. You drop a stone in a pond and the waves come out away from that initial drop spot. Caregivers are affected too, and having answers, being somebody who is being supportive of somebody who doesn't have an answer, you're also researching that whole time, looking for answers for them. Sharing your diagnosis, sharing your coping mechanisms, sharing your treatments helps the caregivers too, and that may eventually help the patient, or it may help the caregiver in their own personal care. When we are caregivers, we give a lot, and we often don't give enough to ourselves. So, at the same time, like I said, names can be hard and can repel people, and we need to be more mindful of that and find ways around fear and allow ourselves to give our best. I think that's it. Give your best, regardless of a label or a name or a tag or a diagnosis. Give the best of what you have, and if the word is what's blocking you, give it another word. Give it another word. Give it another word. It'll be better. that is everything I have for you guys, other than loads of love and appreciation. Please reach out to me with anything you want to hear, any questions you have about the projects that I'm doing. Or if you're working with a storefront and you have ideas and solutions for how to do multi-selection option products, I would love to hear from you. Everything that I do is a challenge and a surprise, and banding together is what makes it easier. I love you guys. Have a great week. Bye.